Yeah. Meenakshi is known to be one heck of a trainer. She used to be, though she doesn't remember me because I used to always goof off. She used to be our trainer. And whenever it was Meenakshi's session in the morning, we all dread it. And for the next 3 days, there were like, aches and pains all over. And you got reminded of Meenakshi every day with every movement you made. So, yeah. She's the hard taskmaster.
I'd love to train with you, Meenakshi. I'll reach out to you separately then. uh, I've always been training for like 10 years now, but this past 1 year has been more intense because there's no excuse that, oh, I have a meeting, I'm traveling, so it's been every Monday to Friday religiously. So I enjoy that, makes me feel healthier. Yeah.
Oh yeah, now I remember you, Deepti. Yes, yes, yes. Now I remember. Yeah, yeah. I remember you.
Then I
Yeah.
reminded you that I was the
Yes,
goofing off kind.
yes. Now I remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember.
Yeah. Okay, we have quite a few participants now, which is great. So, Amrita, you were on a ride yesterday. I got to hear.
Yes, we have this. She can ride every Women's Day every year. So yesterday we had a ride to Kasara from Mumbai.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's how many kilometers is that?
Approx 122 to 125 kilometers one run. Maybe 240 kilometers both side. Mumbai, Kasara, Mumbai.
Oh, wow. That's one way of spending, one
Yeah.
great way of spending a weekend.
So Amrita, you like the cruisers? You like the sports?
No, the cruiser one.
Like,
Because I like going for the rides on the longer routes. So I probably prefer the cruise bike.
it's more comfortable. Pallavi is
Yeah.
also a rider, by the way. So yeah.
Oh,
I tried to learn, but then gave up because can't wake up early in the morning. I don't want to wake up.
You're desperately trying to learn how to ride a cycle, yeah, man. And failing at that. Okay, we give it another minute or so. Okay, we have about 50 odd people. Ravina, do you want to give it another minute? We have 50 plus people here already.
We have about 62 people.
Yeah.
So I think,
I
Deepti,
think
let's get started because people will keep joining in, I think, along the way, if that's all right.
Sure, let's get started and I'll just welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining in and happy Women's Day to everybody, men, women, irrespective of your gender, because that's what the topic is all about. And we're going to talk today about Job Got No Gender. We want to talk about the fact that in today's world, there's nothing that is a gender specific job. And we have three dynamic women who have defied that very norm and taken on things which don't have a gender attached to it. Or maybe they did traditionally, and they've gone against all of that and achieved so much. Rubina, thanks for agreeing to facilitate this discussion. Over to you to introduce our panelists and just take it over from here.
Thank you. My absolute pleasure. Like you at GetSU know, gender diversity is a subject very, very close to my heart. So I'm very pleased to be hosting this panel. I just want to start off by saying that, I was reading a report or a statement rather by the World Economic Forum, sadly, which said that none of us will see gender parity in our lifetimes, or nor is it likely for our children to see gender parity. Uh, and it's not going to happen in this century. Now, this is a very bleak prediction, and this is one we should not definitely accept. There is more that can be done to take this challenge head on, absolutely. And a more inclusive world necessitates, transforming how we behave and how we choose to challenge not just the inequalities which exist in the system, but our own biases too. And driving these changes into society and challenging the status quo is never easy. And some of us, have gone through our own struggles, and we know it, that cultural shifts do not happen overnight. But the best part about any change is that it just begins with one person at one time, and that person can be you. And today I have these three very powerful women with me who have chosen to challenge. The first one is Pallavi. Pallavi, I have known for over a decade now, and she's the marketing director for BMW India. She has built her career, if I may say, in a very male-dominated automobile industry, and has worked with iconic brands like MG, Harley Davidson, and Yamaha. We also have Meenakshi with us. She's an engineer by education and a powerlifter and fitness trainer by profession. She's a professional athlete and a gold medalist national level powerlifter. She's also a podium finisher at the Miss Fitness India in 2019 with the highest deadlift. Wow, that's something. And Amrita, she's a young entrepreneur, all of I think 23, who started a training school called Women on Wheels, training women to ride two-wheelers. I think a much needed skill in the city of Mumbai. And with the success of the school, she went on to establish WOW Deliveries during the pandemic, aimed at delivery service by women for servicing deliveries of food, groceries, medicines, and other essentials. And today's conversation is an opportunity to learn from these bold ladies who continuously challenge the status quo and inspire and accelerate changes to ensure that we achieve the gender diversity and parity in our lifetime. With that, I'm going to start off with you, Pallavi. Walk us through our journey and tell me, why did you choose the automotive sector of all sectors?
So thanks. I'm really honored to be part of this panel. With Meenakshi and with Amrita. And Amrita and me shared, I think we need to connect, talk about riding a pitch. But thanks for everybody who joined in as well. I think, I've always been adventurous, and I was a national gymnast as a kid, basketball player. So something which was more towards the outdoor side, kind of, I gravitated to that more than just doing the same thing. So when I was doing my MBA, I had an option of joining a garment industry, which is very fashionable to do, and the other option was automotive. And by default, I have two brothers, and they said, you must do automotive, because not because you're breaking a stereotype, but you will really challenge yourself. And that's how Yamaha happened, and then of course that's how I learned how to ride bikes. And then Harley Davidson happened, and I think that's one company which is kind of etched. I always say my blood is orange and black for life, because certain brands just have a very big impact in your life, because we built the brand from scratch with so many people, just 5 people, built the company, and then of course MG happened, and then MG, of course, sometimes over the period of time you find great leaders, and sometimes like mentors who can really tell you how you can take your journey, right? So, and Rajiv is one gentleman. I sometimes say, behind a successful woman can sometimes men can also be, so it's very important as a woman to take that step. But there are certain men who will support. You just have to find, and you just have to, embrace. You don't have to always question mark, but embrace your environment. And then, of course, from MG, BMW happened, and that's a journey. But I think every company and every people around you have their own, have their own culture. They all come from different backgrounds, different lifestyles. You just, as a woman, you need to, I think, sometimes adapt, but also most times challenge. In the corporate world, challenging is done in a very different way. You have to find your ground to challenge. It's not that easy. We all know that. And sometimes challenging can also lead to very different things. But I think as women, it's important to challenge. The world is your playground, and you can do so much if there's one courageous woman can change the entire destiny of the humankind. And we all know that so many women have done world over. So that's been in a nutshell a journey. We'll talk more, of course.
Yeah, so Pallavi, what you're telling me is that you always had male allies, if I may call them, whether it was your brothers early on in your life, or your family, or later male colleagues who encouraged you to do more and more, and that's so important for women to succeed as well, or for us to achieve this gender parity that we want to, that we also have men who support the cause.
Yeah.
That's so true. And Meenakshi, I want to ask you next, because I'm like really, really intrigued that, how did you think of building a career like in a sport like weightlifting? First of all, sports in India itself is not something which is encouraged too much, whether it's men or women. And then a woman getting into a male-dominating sport like weightlifting is quite unusual. So, what was the trigger, and what led you to this choice?
I think I was always attracted to iron, being an army officer's daughter, we had that environment, and we were always there, seeing our fathers, their colleagues, the Jawans, and, always on the front line behind. So the environment at home was such that, I did my schooling from Army Public School, Dhola Kuan, and where the Republic Day parade was like how you see now, at India Gate. So I was so inspired, and it was in my blood. So as I grew, then it's like either you be a doctor and an engineer. So then I chose engineering. Completed my engineering in electrical electronics. Was again surrounded by machines. Again, you had to work on lathe, and the boring is happening on those engines. So yes, I was attracted. I worked in corporate for more than a decade, and then got married, had a child. And then all of a sudden I started blowing up, and I was like 96 kgs, and I saw myself in the mirror, and I said, something is wrong. This is not me. And like everybody else, I joined the gym, and then, yeah, I had good strength, stamina. So I lost weight, got back. And then I started pumping iron, and then one day I realized I could pump more. Then I could pump more than men. And then I saw I could pump more than many men out there. And then I thought, okay, fine, let me compete. So there was this local gym competition which happened, and I casually, just walked in, and my coach said, okay, why don't you try? So I tried, and I was the heaviest, and I could lift the heaviest. And it was no looking back. Then I started, preparing professionally, had coaches, Olympic weightlifting coaches. And yes, then it was no looking back. And end of the day, like I said, it was all iron, and that strength and energy and that power which attracted. And night I really have to be drained out, and all bruised and hurt, and that's when I feel, okay, the day was successful. So yeah, so I am at a national level. I plan to play this year for international, and play till 60 years, 70 years, till whatever time I can. So I'm 42-year-old, but yes, I just plan to take it professionally and keep playing and playing and playing. So I do both powerlifting and endurance sports as well. Last year, I won gold in Tal Katora. Also, I did kettlebell sports and won a gold there. So next week, my CrossFit Opens begin. So I would be competing from representing India. So let's see how that goes. I'm preparing for that.
I wish you the very best. So inspired by you. And actually, I'm just wondering, when I was hearing you, this is a very unusual. It's not that you were always interested and your family encouraged you and you took on to it. You said you were in a corporate job, like a typical straight line thing that you would come from I come from a sort of services family as well. So I understand, right? You pick up a job and you're well settled and you progress in your career and you have forward thinking families and parents etc who encourage even the girls to do more, but here you say you give up your job, you have a baby, and then you say that I want to get into something which is so different. I think it's really really inspiring. And how did your family look at that decision of yours? Because obviously training, it was just not a hobby, but if you're competing at national level and now like you are at international levels, it needs a lot of time, dedication, in your training as well. So how did your family react to your choice?
Family, friends, neighbors, they was like, "Haath pe todvaegi, what's wrong with her? Why you need to get your hands broken? No, please. This is not the age. This is not the age. Had it been 20s, it was good, but this is definitely not the age. I had many injuries, a lot of joint issues. So I went to the doctor, the orthopedic doctor, and he asked me, "Aapne kya karna hai? Olympic mein jana hai kya? Just forget it and sit at home, just do your normal gymming." And it was so discouraging because sports rehab does not, it's not there in India, not at all, not at ground level. And we are always discouraged, again, not only by families and friends, by the coaches, by the men out there. They're like, "Your mothers, what's wrong, madam?" I went to the Tal Katora Stadium. This guy walks up to me, saying, "Madam, aap to padhe likhe lag rahe ho अच्छे घर के. What are you doing here?"
Oh my God.
This is exactly what he told me. What are you doing here? Why are you struggling? I said, "This is not a struggle for me. I enjoy it. I like it. I want to do it. There is no pressure, or I'm just not doing out, going out there to prove myself." And they're like, "You sit at home. You look from a good family, you have all the money. What's wrong?" So the mix of responses that you get, yes, family and friends, later they realized that yes, this is what I want to do. And yeah, now they tell me, "Okay, take it easy, don't overdo." They still tell me, "Don't overdo." But yes, I thoroughly enjoy it. It can see sports or any kind of sport cannot be without injuries. You tend to get injured no matter how safe you play. So yes, it has its own ups and downs, but then yes, I completely enjoy it.
And actually, you're putting it very bravely. And yes, you're a physically very strong woman, but I know you have to be mentally also very strong to face so much resistance and still pursue and be determined to pursue what you want to. So, really inspired by your story.
Thank you.
Uh, Amrita, want to ask you next, why like a two-wheeler school for women? Why not cars? And what led you to start this? And especially I can say your generation because maybe I'm 20 years older than you. You know, girls and boys who are starting distance at entrepreneurship are more looking at digital tech-enabled businesses now. That's the theme that we see mostly. But what inspired you to kind of, start this kind of a venture?
So, as we all know that many people say follow your hobby or your passion and try working into it. So my hobby and to be precise, my passion is riding, and so I wanted to do something related to bikes or scooty maybe. So then I came up with an idea of starting a women motorcycle training school, because as we all know that we have many driving schools, and to be more precise, we don't have a women training school that a woman is training another woman. So I just kept this as an idea. I finished off with my graduation paper, and the very next day I started circulating the message saying that uh, I have started a training school for women. Initially, I started with the gear bike, and then with the non-gear bike, and then I started with the gear bike. So the response was pretty good, and there were so many women who were really interested to join the classes because they were actually looking for the women instructor who could train them. And that's how the idea came into picture. Slowly, starting at the starting stage, I started with only two students because I just wanted to check whether I am able to do it, or whether the women are comfortable, or is there any thing that I want to add on more to the training school. So initially I started with two women. They were really happy. I could see them riding. I took follow-ups with them, how the bike, the scooty training helped you all, what changes made into your lives after learning scooty. And slowly I started giving a name to my training school. Initially I just posted it as I am going to train women for motorcycle, but then as the response started it in a positive way, I then came up with an idea called as Women on Wheels, because as we all know, when we give a name to a brand, that's where it starts growing. So I gave it a brand name called as Women on Wheels. This was something unique for the people to know. Then slowly and steadily, people started asking me, what is Women on Wheels? What is it about? And it helped me to explain them that we are into motorcycle training school. We train women for gears and non-gear bikes. And the specialty, or maybe the USP that you could say, is we have all women staff, women instructors on field and off field. Even in the office, if you can see, we have only women office staff. And for training school, we have almost 6 instructors right now currently. And the good part of it is we also train women and ask them to be our instructors. And we have two such women who have come to us as a student, and then they have joined us as a trainer. So this is an achievement, you can say, for Women on Wheels. And we can them in a small way to maybe help their home, or to make their family grow. So this is how Women on Wheels came into picture.
That's fabulous. It's such a virtuous cycle, and you're generating employment for more women. I think you're doing a fabulous job. So proud of you that there are, women like you who are creating this opportunity for other women. But tell me,
Rubina, if I could just interrupt, I just wanted to make an announcement for everyone who's here. In case anybody has any questions for the panel, please feel free to drop in a note on the chat, and we'll take that up as we go along. That's about it. Sorry for the interruption. Carry on, Rubina.
so Amita, I want to ask you, like, I'm sure you also faced a lot of challenges from maybe your students or their families, not the students, but their families, right? Like Meenakshi said, कि आप अच्छे घर से हो, ये क्यों कर रही हो? Did people come and, the families come and tell you, ये तुम हमारी बेटियों को खराब कर रही हो, क्यों सिखा रही हो मोटरसाइकिल चलाना, फिर वो आवारागर्दी करेगी, ये करेगी, वो करेगी. Did that happen? Did you encounter such comments from families?
Actually, not this thing that happened to me is, but the other way around. What happened is, many women, irrespective of the religion or the caste, I don't want to mention, but many have not told their husband or their mother-in-law that they are coming for the training. They started the training with us. They have told us to keep it very confidential, that they have been coming to us and getting trained. Because what we usually do is we create a group, we send the videos, uh, the upgrades of their training, or maybe the progress of the training on social media handles. So they had asked us, please just try and keep it with y'all, don't let it be public, because we have not told our husbands, our mother-in-law, that we have coming for the training. The reasons are very such that they only want to pick up their child from the school and get them back, or maybe go to the grocery store and get the groceries to them. But and in many cases it was such that they were going under physical pressure or by their families, and so they wanted to opt for a job which will help them to take the family ahead. And so they wanted a help to get the training with us. So we have come up with such examples that where the students who have come have told us ki nahi mat batao kisi ko, instead of the family coming to us. So yeah.
It's so unfortunate that there's so many struggles that women still have to face in today's world, when we talk about equality and empowerment. But Pallavi, I want to shift the conversation on another road and talk to you from a corporate point of view. A lot of times, if I can just put it very plainly, women here, get to hear that they are playing the woman card, you know. Have you ever faced it? Have you come across where people are kind of using these kind of stigmas against you? And, what can we do better to sensitize our male colleagues to see what are the actual struggles and the challenges that every woman really faces, right? These are not just like fictitious excuses or things that women are making up, but there are genuine things that we're always multitasking. There's so many roles we have to play. So it's not that, it's not true.
Yeah, I think even if you're living in 21st century, I think the mind frame and how men and women function, whether it's biologically or psychologically, we are just different people, right? And I think women can multitask, and women have the capacity and I think the compassion and the mind space to do so much. Men are not built like that, right? So it takes time for them, and things are changing, but it's not going to happen in our century, like you're saying. So of course, in my career for 15 years, there've been times when people say things which you may not appreciate. I think, and I often, when I talk to, as an alumni, I talk to my friends from university or anybody else. I often tell them, you have to have a thick skin. If you think that they will understand, you're asking way too much at this point, because they are not built like that. And I'm being very, very honest, right? Because they all come from different backgrounds. Some may understand and some may not understand the kind of language they may use. Or, just in fun, they may give a statement which they don't think that it's fine. We say this to boys, right? How does it matter? Why would she feel bad? But of course, we are subconsciously very sensitive, right? Women are sensitive. And I think the most important thing for any woman today, and if you have to grow in your career or anything, whether it's the corporate world or outside, we have to have a thick skin. And I think when I say thick skin, it means that certain things you have to just forget. You can't change everybody, but what you can do is you can absorb positivity and your mental peace by not listening to the riffraff of the world. Because then you will just think over and over and over, and it's not going to lead anywhere. It's going to take time. But what can happen is if women support women at workplaces, if you have more women at leadership roles, that's how things will change. Today, also, I think there's 1% of women in leadership roles today. And it's tough. Honestly, it's really tough because it's a battle every day, because you have to prove yourself. Even if, there's been time, and I won't quote the organization, I won't quote people. There've been times when you're sitting in a meeting room and, you're presenting, and it's a leadership meeting. You are presenting, and half of the men are always on their mobiles, including women sometimes, not just men, women is. And it's a very important strategic presentation happening, and you're on phone. But when a man talks, usually you are never on phone. So what I started doing was I started walking out of the meeting room. And of course it became a very big issue. But I said, what is the point? If you're not listening, why should I be in the meeting room? So I think certain times you have to be courageous, because if you're in a position you can be courageous, other women get that support, right? And this is my personal thing, that, even if a woman's idea is not great, but there is no harm in front of a meeting room sitting saying, wow, what a great idea. Even if nobody says that, that just brings a lot of, I think, as women, it's our responsibility, even if it's a small idea, it's not great, but just encourage. That will help her maybe do something more, especially young women when they come and present in meeting room. They're already so intimidated, right? So, in nutshell, having a thick skin is very important. Not surround yourself with this riffraff. It's not going to lead you anywhere. It doesn't help. And I think third thing is, I feel having something which is just for yourself, a passion like Minakshi has or Amrita has, something which is just for yourself, not your husband, not your kids, not this, not that, which makes you believe that you as an individual can do so much more. I think your husbands get inspired, your kids get inspired that you have something, and husbands sometimes want कि कुछ खुद भी कर लो. We don't want to be surrounded all the time. So I think having your own passion, which is just for yourself, whether it's weightlifting, whether it's motorcycle. I love to ride. So I mean, I think my husband has his own bike. I have my own bike. So I think anything, it could be anything which you love. And it has to be a representation of your own personality. It's tough out there, I have to be honest. I mean, it's not easy, but I guess it's okay. You fail, you fall, you get up, you give it back sometimes. It's okay, life's long. You get a lot of things come your way, but you just have to get up and say, and not get emotionally. I think one should never get emotionally involved in any work. And if you see men, why is it so different? I just want to give one point. Men work and they're not emotionally involved in the organization they work. As women, we get so emotionally involved that we think this is our world. But our world is so much more, right? And I think that's what I've started doing. And I've subconsciously every day tell myself, um, emotional involvement when it comes to your work is important. You must be true to yourself that I must perform great. I must do best for my organization. But I must not get emotionally involved with what people say because people will say that's how people are built. You can't change people, right? But what you can do is no matter what anybody tells you, you still have a smile on your face and march forward. That people don't. कि मैंने इतना कुछ बोला है, इसमें कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. So I think that can only come once you say, I don't want to use the word, but it's okay. Let's just move on. Yeah.
Pallavi, I can't agree with you more. You're right that I see, including myself, we as women, we bring so much more emotion into work. And what you're trying to say is leave the emotion out of it. And that's what perhaps you're trying to say by saying be thick-skinned, not to ignore what people are saying. At the same point, don't let it impact yourself. So be thick-skinned to that extent. And also at the same point in time, be courageous to voice what you think is right and make yourself heard. So you have to do that. So don't let it affect you, but be heard by people. And it's right, we have to have a way to, like you said, a passion, a hobby or something to just have some time for ourselves. And perhaps that helps you cope up with a lot of, and the emotions that we go through. Whether it's cooking, whether it's riding, whether it's whatever it is for whoever, or painting, etc. It just helps you just relieve a lot of your emotional stress that we as women go through. So I completely agree with you. And on that note, extending that conversation a little bit, Minakshi, I want to come to you and ask you that, I'm sure you had some very tough choices to make, very difficult decisions to take. And, being a mother, I can understand those as well, right? And there are no rights or wrongs. It's whatever makes you happy, you make those decisions, right? And in your case, you decided, in spite of having a young child, you decided to pursue a sports-led career, which is very offbeat. And I'm sure you were happy doing that and you wanted to do that. But was it the people around you, the society around you that made you feel guilty for it all the time, for not making the right choices because of the makeup that we have in the society, the mental makeup that we have in the society? Did you encounter that?
Yes, not many times. I still do encounter that. At times, my son says, "Mama, make this for me." And I am so tired. I need to sleep because I need to recover and I need to work out the next day. I have sessions to take as well. So if I do not catch on my sleep, I'll end up getting injured. So sleep is a very important part of recovery as much as nutrition. So I tell him, I can't cook, the maid has cooked. Please have that. Maybe, one of the weekends I'll cook one meal. That's all. But I cannot, at times, there are times when it's dinner time and I have to eat early because it's my eating window. And then I tell them that I have already had, but I'll serve you. You guys enjoy, but I won't be able to join. Then many a time when I am preparing for a competition, it depends on what kind of competition it is. I am on a certain diet. So their family get together, they are family time wherein I have to say no, I cannot eat that.
Correct.
I just cannot eat that. And they say ki, we have cooked, especially haath ka banaya hai. Look at you. One bite will not make a difference. It will make a difference because next day it will show in my performance. The girls' night out where I cannot drink. And they're like, what is, you've changed. You're not the same anymore. What is this? You've changed. I said, no, I haven't changed. I need this month to prepare myself physically, mentally, because it takes a lot. When you go so heavy, it takes a lot. It's not only the physical game anymore. So you lift from here. The moment you have your hands on the bar, you cannot leave it. It has to come up. And it takes months of preparation to do that. There are times, when I have to say that my party is over for me. I have to sleep. 10 o'clock, it's done. They say, oh, we used to enjoy till what, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And look at you, you're such a spoiled sport. So there are people, my mother says, okay, fine. Now, one bite, one bite now, one bite. It will not do any harm. So I have to say, no, she's okay. I will die one day, then you'll remember this bite and all that. So much of emotional trauma. So yeah, there's so many people unhappy around me with food, with the timing, with the parties, but I cannot make everybody happy. I do want to be a part of it, but it's not possible when I am preparing and to compete, basically to compete. So yes, people are unhappy. Most of the time they are unhappy.
So, Meenakshi, how do you deal with that? Like your son saying, "Mummy, I want you to cook for me today," or your mother saying, "कि मैंने इतने प्यार से बनाया, एक bite से क्या फर्क पड़ता है?" How do you deal with those emotional things, right? Because women, we are emotional also. These are our families, right? We care for them, we love them equally. It's not that the choice that we've made makes us love them lesser, but they don't seem to understand, right? Because they see it from a different lens. So, how do you deal with it emotionally yourself? I'm sure it plays on your mind sometimes that my son, am I doing right by him? Like, how is he going to think of this when he grows up? Or when your mom says like, "मैं पता नहीं कितने देर के लिए हूँ," you're not having, it does play on your mind, right? How do you deal with it emotionally? Yeah.
Initially, it was really bogging me down. But as time went and I started having those medals, so one day my son said, Mama, everybody was talking about you. They saw your post and I told them my mama can lift 10 of you. So like that, I said exactly that's what I am working for. And maybe we don't have family time every day, but we try and make time whenever we have, depending on my husband's schedule and my son's, whatever time he has from his studies and tuitions. Earlier, I used to teach him because I am from a science background. Past 1 year, I have no time. Rather, I do not have the strength, the stamina, because I'm so tired. I need to sleep, I need to eat, I need to recover. That's very important. So he's like, you are at home. What's wrong with you? You're at home, right? Why don't you play with me? I said, yeah, I'm at home, but I need to rest. I cannot work because my arms are sore. I cannot lift a glass of water and give you. Please, you need to do this on your own. So it took some time for things to come in, streamline the process, for people to understand. Initially, they were like, even my mother was like, what is this? But now she says, okay, I'll keep all your medals, I'll make a big showcase. And she also, goes into, she's working. My mother still works. She's an advocate. She works here in Gurgaon. So there she goes and talks about me. Then she says, fine, now I understand. So now they ask me, tell me what is the time that you eat? So we said, what to meet you at that time? So India, it's celebration is eating and drinking, right? So then I tell her, okay, 5 o'clock, I'll eat this, I'll eat. So she'll order that, or she'll cook, or she'll make sure that particular thing is available. And she says, 5 baj gaye, ye khao. So
Right.
yeah, so I make them happy like that.
So I get your mantra. Success is your answer to your
Yeah.
family to
Yes.
understand, you know, yeah, and not put you through that emotional period. I think it's learning. It's a great learning. Amrita, I want to ask you, uh, have you faced similar struggles from family, friends, society that, about the choice of your idea, and have you ever heard this, ye ladkiyon ka kaam nahi hai, and things like that? And if so, how do you kind of deal with it?
Like we all know that Motor Training School is in fact a men-centric company, that we have only figured it out that it is supposed to be a men-centric and not a women-centric, right? So yeah, this was at initial time very difficult for me to put my views in front of everyone, that yes, women can ride, women can run a motorcycle training school as well. She has that equal strength to take all the decisions that are supposed to be taken at the very crucial stage, because to be honest, every day is very important for us, because as we are training on a vehicle, many students have come across a few accidents, small accidents while training. So we have to be very mentally strong, me, myself, and also my instructors, to cope up with all these things. Uh, at this stage, whatever I am right now is because of the support that I have been getting from my family members. But there's other side to this, is the residents, or where we are being training, right? So that there was no positive review from their end, because ये लड़की लोग चला रहे हैं, लड़की लोग सिखा रहे हैं, इनको नहीं आएगा. And to be honest, many have also lodged a complaint in the police station, saying that there are women trainers who are training the women. इनको ये चलाना नहीं आता, ये क्या सिखाएंगे, एक्सीडेंट्स हो जाएंगे, ये हमारे यहाँ पे नहीं, इनका प्लीज क्लास शिफ्ट करना. So these were the comments that we had got at the initial stage. But slowly, as I said, that when people started reviewing on Facebook, on Instagram, on our Google page, and when it went through many places via doing various events, and when people started knowing Women on Wheels, uh, they the same resident people came to us and asked us that my daughter-in-law wants to learn the gear bike. Can you please train her? I said, you were the one who had lodged a complaint saying कि ये लड़के लोग सिखा रहे हैं, ये इनको नहीं आएगा, ये accident हो सकता है. But he said, no, I was wrong, I was very wrong. But please, can you just guide my daughter-in-law to get hands on the gear bike? So I took it in a positive way at the initial stage, and that's how we are rolling it with our lady instructors.
So I think all three of you are just saying the same thing. Like Pallavi also said, have the courage to fight back, don't let it emotionally impact you. And like Meenakshi also said, success is your answer to everything, and that's exactly what you are resonating as well. So it's a great learning for all of us here and everybody who's hearing. Meenakshi, again, when I was talking to you, I was also thinking of another question. Like, and you're a mother, you will relate to it. I have an 8-year-old daughter as well. And, there's this big fad, especially with young girls now, to send them to classes to learn martial arts. What's your view on that?
I think not only martial arts, kids, children of any age should play a sport. No matter what, they should play a sport. Self-defense, martial art, it will automatically come in. You will automatically get attracted if you have the tendency. Otherwise, just pick up any sport, no matter what. If you're not that outgoing types, I would say at home you can play any board game, squat, sit down on the floor and play any board game. That itself is a good exercise.
I want to just frame this differently than Meenakshi, so be direct on my question. It's more because, they tell me, I have an 8-year-old, right? And she's growing up now, going through those changes where she doesn't look like a little baby and, that slightly growing up. So they say that, it's a big bad world out there. And to protect herself, she must know self-defense techniques and should learn some form of martial art, etc. And therefore, you should enroll her for a class, which I haven't. So I just want to, because I have a different view on it, but I wanted to pick your view on it. That what do you think about a situation like that?
Yes, self-defense is very important. Self-defense basically is what? You being agile, you having that proprioception, having you are consciously aware of your environment, who is following you, or who is, probably yeah, going to attack, in case that's the situation. So again, sports will teach you everything. You need not learn martial arts or self-defense. You can do that also. That's completely fine. But very young children, you would be just, pressurizing them, go and learn self-defense. So basically the fear of something, they would have a fear of something, why I'm learning this to protect myself. So yes, as parents, we are worried. Martial arts and self-defense look very intriguing, and yes, to enroll, especially a girl child, makes sense. But then it's again you being agile, how best you can safeguard yourself, how best you can understand the environment. Sports is the answer to it. Not only for children, I would want to get sports introduced to the mothers of those fringes of society who, after getting married, children, they have no access. They don't play a sport. Why? Sports is free. You play Coco, you play Kabaddi, it's completely free. Get a ball, play. Why? Why? After those, that society, you marry your girl and then it's done. All she has to do is work and, just bear babies. That's it. So I am working on that also. I'm also on panel of Sports Academy Association of India as chief mentor sports education to get sports and sports education to that fringe of society. Women especially. Children do have access, but women of that society, they have no access, no sports, they are not encouraged. So sports is the answer to everything, to your mental health, to your physical health, to your self-defense, to your stress buster, lifestyle disorders, everything. So play a sport no matter what, no matter what time, no matter where. Squat and play a carrom board, that's a good exercise. How many children can squat these days? When was the last time I had dinner sitting down?
Correct.
When was the last time I sat on the floor with my child and played a game? Forget playing football or badminton outside. Sports is the answer to everything.
No, Meenakshi, I 100% agree with you. Sports and any form of sport, whether it's indoor, outdoor, to keep yourself alert, agile, self-aware, is more important. And also, release stress, stress buster, all that, great. But I don't agree with this thought that you have to train your kids to learn martial arts to protect themselves. I think you should punish the offenders. That was my view. And, I find it really regressive that even in today's day and age, we are encouraging young girls or seeding it in their head that you need to protect yourself because something evil will happen. Rather than, saying that we need to make a change as we raise girls and boys, that we have to get rid of, what exists in society today, unfortunately. And Pallavi, moving to the corporate India point of view, what do organizations need to do when it comes to breaking molds, especially, when on the topic that we're talking about, creating a gender equal environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing, organizations are trying. I think most companies, but it's more like it's a governance, so people want to do it. But I think the most important thing, from my perspective as an individual and as a woman, is that there has to be a specific committee which is looking at issues and which are not HR people, which are not within the company. They have to be third party, right? They need to be as advisors to the organizations. And it happens a lot in the US. It happens in other parts of Europe, where, of course, women empowerment and gender equalities become, especially in the US. Uh, Third party advisors are there and not part of the company people. I think that's very important because people, women within the company, even everybody comes from different backgrounds. Some people are working to earn their livelihood month on month, right? So if they have access to somebody who's third party, who's not on payrolls of the same organization, they are much free to talk, right? I think that's one piece I learned, from somebody I was talking to, an advisor in the US, and they said that really helps. And I hope Indian companies can do it. And second, I think if we really have to break, these biases, and I have to be honest, it's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. Uh, but the second would be, if I was a CEO of a company to do something like that, would be, can we be as close to women to understand? When I say close, to understand what they go through, right? There are so many courses today, but we do team building activities, right? Great, do team building, do all of that, but we are not able to focus on mental wellness, and we don't talk about this. It's a People have started talking about it, largely separately, on their own. But within organizations or corporates, I think we don't talk about mental health issues, personal issues, which, because of sometimes not able to take care of the kids or husband, or whatever, women go through a lot, right, in this whole period. Some women come from very good backgrounds, they can manage, but not everybody. 99% women don't, who are struggling. So I think that is another piece, that there should be a quarterly plan on how to focus on mental awareness, mental health. We all go through a lot, but we often think, no, it's fine. I think maybe exercising would help. Exercise does not help mental issues sometimes, because of various reasons, because everybody is in different juncture of their health sometimes. I think that's something I really believe that should happen within the organizations. And gender diversity can only come when you push. When I say push, I mean that you push that I need 30% or 40% as women. It's okay. I'm okay to hire women, and I'm okay to hire women who may not know more. It's fine. People learn on the go. Everybody learns. I think skill skill is something people learn over a period of time. Hard work, if you give people a platform, they will gun for it. But if you do not have that aim, and I am a person of numbers a bit, that it is important to put, I want my goal as 40%. No matter I don't get so many women who maybe not be so talented and cannot speak well, it's fine. We will teach them. And I think that way things will change. Otherwise, and it doesn't happen in corporate world, I have to be honest, so much. And that's why we don't see so many women in leadership roles. And if women are at leadership roles over a period of time, like Meenakshi spoke, right? She said, I want to do something on my own, what my passion is. People think, let's do something like you did, right? You were a CEO at the age of 40. So, people think, let's do something else. But I really feel we need more women in corporate world. We need women who can challenge the status quo, fight. It's okay. But we're all not there to just please everybody. What's the point if you have to just please people? I'm sorry, I'm just really honest and candid. So, so I think that's the key, I would say, if I were to say three things.
That's so true. I think we have to stop looking at it as a conversation and a checkbox that every organization, because there's so much awareness now. But yeah, the sad thing is there's a lot of checkbox activity still that happens. We have to stop that and actually hold ourselves accountable. And the way to do it is obviously first is like hire women, more and more and more. Hire, train, promote. You have to do that. And I'm really pleased to share with you. Pallavi, that at least at Dentsu we've committed ourselves and to hold ourselves accountable at senior leadership to say by 2025 we will have 50% of our staff across levels, including senior levels, which will be women. So, we're working with that goal. And when you set yourself those goals, those high goals, then, you break it down into steps and start doing it. Unless you make a bold statement, set a goal for yourself, and that 50 may not happen. It may be 40, but I think it's a great improvement where we are. So I think you have to hold yourself accountable and keep measuring how you're progressing towards it. And to my mind, I think corporate India should do that, definitely. Yeah. But thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. And the last question, I know we are running on close to the end of this panel, but Amita, I want to ask you, today is Women's Day. But shouldn't women be celebrated every day, every hour, all the time? Why do you think we need one day that is dedicated to celebrate the achievements and the struggles and the fights that we women have?
I think there should be a dedicated day to a Women's Day as of 8th of March, because every day we take women for granted. Uh, from our home itself, we take our mother for granted. On Mother's Day and Women's Day, we take her to the dinner or to the lunch or help her in the house chores. But for other day, we just ignore it. We don't help her in anything, and we just walk out with our work. And why Women's Day, why we have to be dedicated with the Women's Day? Because we start finding multiple women who have done great in their lives. Because in the everyday run, as Pallavi ma'am and Meenakshi ma'am said, that majorly we look for the men that has been done great in their work field. But when the sorry to say this, but when Women's Day comes close, we actually go out and start fetching for the women who have done great in their fields and who have prospered and who have crossed the men in their field, and we start felicitating her. Instead, if we can do it on the everyday basis, then we don't really need Women's Day to be celebrated on 8th of March, but we can celebrate it every day.
That is summed it up very well. We are at right now. At least we need one day to celebrate women.
Okay, I need to already leave this job and get to another one as soon as possible.
I just want
Because I don't like.
go on mute. Yeah, sorry. I just want to end the conversation with one liner from each one of you. This year, the theme for International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge, and all of you have chosen to challenge in your careers, in your lives, and you've shared those stories with us. So thank you for that. But tell me, one thing that you would choose to challenge. Pallavi, I'll start with you.
I would just say be bold in what you stand for. I think you need to be bold enough to what you believe in. So that's the only way you will accomplish what you want. Yeah.
Thank you. Meenakshi, for you.
I say every girl child, every lady, every mother, every grandmother should play a sport. Please pick up a sport, play a sport anytime, once a week, twice a week, no matter when you want. Please play a sport. And you will see the difference it makes in your life.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Amrita, for you, what do you choose to
Uh, I'll say you only live once, so don't be a gender barrier. So even if you're a woman, you have the life equal to men. So why not start living?
Fabulous, very inspiring, and I totally agree with you, Amrita. Thanks for sharing that. And I just want to end this panel by saying that beyond the business case and the moral imperative, it takes bold conversations to inspire bold actions to, forge a positive change for women. And all you wonderful ladies today have shown us how each one of us can make a difference. So more power to you in whatever you do, and all the very best, and happy Women's Day to everybody. Thank you very much. Deepti, I know I've taken away all the time, not left much for questions. I enjoyed this conversation so much. I think we have 2 minutes, so if you want to take some questions.
Yeah, I will. I haven't got any questions, but thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for your insights. I have a question for Meenakshi. And Meenakshi, there is this whole I'm going to talk more about the body perfection. A lot of people have views on what a perfect body is, what a perfect beauty is, right? And fat is not good, dark is not good, etc., etc. So tell us what you would like to say to women who look at the mirror and say, I don't look good because I don't fit those standards.
I would like to say the first thing, six-pack abs does not make you fit. Those chisel body that you see on the stage, they are not fit. They faint behind stage, backstage. They're on the floor. They have no strength. They have no stamina. It just looks good. You, of course, you have to be in a healthy weight range. You have to be healthy, but please be functional. Those bodies are artificial. I have to use the word. They're artificial. Human body is not either men or women. Human body does not have that kind of strength building, and that the shape that you see, it is all artificial. I would not want to use words, but there are a lot of things, steroids, a lot of things, supplement which goes behind it. Please eat natural. Please be healthy. Play a sport. Love yourself in the mirror, and yes, you have to be in a healthy weight range. Don't go by YouTube. Don't blindly follow any celebrity. It's fake. It's not real. It's not real. The body that you see is not real. You don't let people know that yes, if you have any health issues, go visit a doctor. You definitely need to see a doctor if the weight is just going out of control. Otherwise, play a sport and be happy. Those bodies are not real. Don't follow them.
Thanks. That is really that's really helpful. On Women's Day, we have a gentleman asking a question. He has raised his hand. Uzair, over to you.
Thank you, Dipti. Thank you so much, everybody, for this lovely session out here. Pallavi, I'd like to come to you when you said, we should hire more women. So I'm recollecting my initial days when I had joined this organization. I was a fresh pass out of college, hired for a senior role. 6 months old into the organization, my chief operating officer walks into me and says, Uzair, mujhe ladkiyan la ke de. And I looked at him and I said, what are you telling me, sir? And then I said, sir, this is going to be for a night shift. How do you expect women to come and work? He said, you do your job. What I'm trying to tell you is, what you're doing for men, sell the same thing to the women and you see the difference. I didn't understand. I walked up to my boss and I said, ma'am, what is he trying to tell me that he wants female to work in night shift? How are we going to do that? He says, and she says, well, just do it. And I know you can do it. Nobody taught me how to do that. And the first call that I made to a female employee to sell a job, and it was a positive response. She asked me, Uzair, do you have cab facilities? I said, yes. Do you have do you have watchmen sitting in the cab when we get dropped off? I said, yes. Do you have food facilities? I said, yes. So before her next question came up, I said, we have all the facilities. We have everything. We have a nice cafeteria. We look after your gym. We have all the tie-ups with all the clubs happening clubs in Pune. So I will tell you eventually, but I first like to know, are you okay for this job? She said, yes, I am okay for this job. I said, it's going to be a night shift. Are you comfortable working in a night shift? She said, yes. I said, are your parents okay you doing a night shift? She said, I have to decide whether I want to do a night shift or no. And if I'm comfortable doing it, I will do it. After that, there was no question that she asked. And then my company's ratio had become 70% female and we had 30% males in the company. And I'm glad that I'm also working with one of the leaders who supports this. Like today, when I give CVs, when I give resumes, I proudly say, fine, take it. And nobody questions back and says, मुझे लड़के चाहिए काम करने के लिए.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Do we have any other question? Mrunali, do you have a question?
Hi everybody. What an amazing session it's been. And I've had people during the call message me and tell me, amazing. Oh my God, the bomb this session is. So thank you to all you lovely ladies for coming over. You all have really made our day. And by saying our day, it's everybody's day, all the men and the women. My question is to Amrita. Hi, Amrita. So when you launched Women on Wheels, okay, and you also started deliveries, how did you tackle the safety during lockdown and all of that?
Starting with the WOW deliveries, again, I came up with a women-centric delivery agency because as we all know that more than men, women actually are very cleanliness conscious, and they themselves took precautions in such a way that being in a COVID unlock phase 1, they themselves had the mask available with them. They did the deliveries wearing the gloves compulsory, and the precaution that they took was continuously sanitizing themselves, because in the initial lockdown phase, unlock phase 1, we were very scared. Unlike we, like, everyone were really very scared with the delivery people, like how are they going to keep themselves. But in my case, we had only kept the girls shift wise, like a per girl, one girl will only work for maximum 4 hours, and then she'll be leaving home. So it was just 3 hours that she had to take care of herself after every delivery and before the delivery.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Amrita. We don't have any more questions on the chat, but here's what I wanted to just highlight to our participants as well as all of you here. When we started the thought of job got no gender, Rubina and I and our team in HR started to dig out jobs which were actually traditionally men, and women were doing it. The fun part of it was that the number of jobs that we came up with on this side of the gender were so many, and the people breaking barriers, or the women breaking barriers, were so many. Then we said we must have a balance and get men who have also broken the tradition, and you can see how far we got with that. And I am not putting down the men here, but what I'm trying to bring out is that traditionally there have been more jobs that are man oriented than jobs which are traditionally women oriented. We did come across with nursing and male nannies, or even stay at home dads. We didn't get so many people on that front as well. So I'm very, very proud to say that we've got more women breaking barriers, and more of that kind of an opportunity for us to speak with women than we did with the other gender. So I'm just going to say, come on, guys, come on. We're waiting for you to catch up with us. Yeah. So on that note, Sunil, are you on the call? Sunil, are you on the call?
Very much, Deepti.
Yeah. Would you like to close the discussion? Sunil heads our HR, and I'd just hand over to you, Sunil, to close the panel for us today.
Uh, I would first of all like to thank. It's been a privilege to hear all of you and such powerful women and giving your perspective and your experiences. It's really I think an eye opener. I've been reading some comments even on my WhatsApp, giving kudos to this particular session, the way and the kind of inputs you guys have been able to share. Fantastic. And like Deepti said, I'm actually happy to know that as an organization we are able to see this particular shift, and it's more important that we see this as more responsible act and move in a direction where even society starts seeing it in a very different manner and not in a manner which it creates bias. So thank you so much, ladies. Rubina, special thanks to you. The kind of time this requires, and to my team, and especially to these three wonderful, powerful ladies. You've been inspirational. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Sorry, I would say girls.
Good, you corrected yourself, Sunil. But thank you.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed chatting with all of you. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.